Hey, everybody, and welcome to Bold Badass Business Owners. I'm so excited. We had a couple of little difficulties getting on here. So, thank you for being patient. We're ready and roaring, and I am thrilled to have someone whose work I love here. And she just is the real deal in business, you all. There's so many people out on the internet who are making promises, and their information is really, I want to use the word flimsy. And that is not Alina Vincent. Alina helps all sorts of entrepreneurs reach six figures and more. She is the creator of high profit programs. She has an incredible best-selling series of books, starting with Own Your Expertise, Teach Your Expertise, Leverage Your Expertise, and Monetize Your Expertise, right, Alina?
Yes. They're
And
all like
she
right here.
right here, show us, woo, show and tell. And I have to tell you all, I have been in a number of Alina's programs and I've learned so much. I was in her challenge intensive, I've attended the high profit programs, and I've attended some other things as well. Her challenges, she's one of the Facebook queens. Well, no, she is the Facebook queen. I know somebody who's a Facebook challenge king, but Alina's the Facebook challenge queen in my mind. So welcome, Alina. So happy you're here.
Yes, we made it. Yes, thank
You
you so
made
much for
it.
having me here.
Yes. I'm so glad you're here. We had some crazy stuff going on communication wise, and thank goodness. Sometimes technology is crazy, but I'm really thrilled you're here. And today the topic is really important. How many of us are hearing so much out there about artificial intelligence? AI, this, Chat GPT, Descript, Transcriptor, Jasper AI, Otter AI, all those things. And truthfully, they can save us a lot of time in our businesses, but they have to be used prudently.
Yeah.
And that's why I was really excited that Alina was coming on to give us some of her best hacks, her best tips, and to tell us what not to do when we're using AI. So thanks for being here, Alina. And why don't we start with what are the biggest mistakes you see people make with AI that you think,
Ooh.
oh,
Well, let me pick the top three that I can think of, but we can talk about just that topic for at least a couple of hours. And AI is brand new. Like a lot of people just now starting to get into the AI. The big boom kind of came at the end of 2022, and people kind of slowly getting on board. So, and the landscape of AI is changing pretty much almost daily. So, what used to be mistakes might not be mistakes a few months from now. So, I'm gonna look at three top mistakes that are kind of universal, that regardless of how the technology evolves, it's going to be always true. So, number one is AI is a machine. It's a language generation platform. It makes it so easy for us to automate our tasks, to ask for specific examples. And in this case, we're of course talking about like expertise-based businesses, online businesses, people who have knowledge that they want to share with the world. So one of the top ways people use it in this type of in these type of businesses is for copy. So, and a copy goes like anything from blogs to emails to social media posts to content creation within their programs and challenges. And it's really easy and really tempting to just go to any of the AI tool you use and say, "Hey, write me a blog about parenting, or write me a blog about how to use AI tools."
mhm.
And what you're going to get is you're going to get very generic response. Because what AI models do is they look at your question, they analyze it, they use their vast amount of data that they've had, and they predict what the most normal response to that would be. Which means when we asking a question, it's going to give
Mhm.
you that average, generic, vanilla type of response. And the top mistake people make is they just take that and they use it in their copy. They use it for their blogs. They use it in their
So
content.
it's the Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo talks about marketing, and Joe Schmo knows nothing about marketing sort of response.
It's kind of no. Some of the responses could be good, and but they're
Mhm,
not deep. So at the
mhm,
very least, you want to look at it as the first draft. It's really going to
mhm.
help you brainstorm. It's really going to help you like fast track your content generation. But don't ever take the first response. And what happens if you just take the first response, let's say you say, write me an email, that eventually you'll realize they all sound the same. They all sound pretty generic. If you're asking for a blog and 20 other people ask for a blog, they're going to get something similar. It's going to be unique. There's going to be variations, but you're going to get that surface amount of information because that's how AI tools work right now. So in order for you to get something that's a little bit more original, that's a little bit more you or a lot more you, and in order for you to stand out, don't take the first version like ever. Look at it always as the first draft. And then your next step becomes, how do we humanize it? How do we start making it sound more and more like me? How do we add original ideas? How do we ask and create that prompt? So the prompt engineering is big. Like that's a skill that if you haven't done anything with AIs, you have to learn how to engineer your prompt so you get more specific, more original, more unique responses. So you don't
Let
sound
me
like anybody else.
pause you if that's okay, because what you're saying is such genius. By the way, I'm popping stuff into the comments, everybody, the gems, the nuggets that Alina is giving us. And what I hear you saying is engineer the prompt. This is going to determine, the quality of the question is going to determine the quality of the response, or the quality of the prompt in this case. And I have certainly heard that when you use it and you really want a deep response, you're going to say something like, give me the best marketer on the planet to answer. You're going to tell it what level you want. So could you tell us, give us an example of how, let's say, Alina, with you and high profit programs or some of the things that you have coming up, I know you always have interesting things coming up. How would you actually search? What prompt would you put in?
Well, let's set up an example.
Let's do it.
So do you want to use one of your products or programs as an example? Or you want me to come up with one?
Use yours. This is about you. So yeah, you use yours.
All right. So let's say I have an event coming up called Leverage. So if I wanted to come up with an email to promote this event, here's what I would do. So number one, as you said, you want to set the stage. So as we're talking about the prompt generation for anything, you want to think of several different ways to set up the stage. The very first thing, you want to assign a role. So whatever platform you use, it could be ChatGPT, could be Jasper, could be Bing, could be Bard. Like there's so many tools and there are new ones popping up like basically every single day. But let's say like something was ChatGPT. You would go and say act as, and in this case, you want to say who would be the absolutely perfect person to hire for this project if you were to hire. So in this case, if I'm writing an email, I can say act as an experienced conversion copywriter, right? So that sets me like, this is the role I want to take. If you're setting up that stage, if you assigning that role, it's going to change the behavior of the ChatGPT, of the language system that you're using to act and gather all of the information it knows about that role. And it's going to give you a lot more of a specific response. The next thing is you want to give it a task. So you want to say, like you will be writing an email that promotes my upcoming event. And then you want to give a little bit of an explanation of what this event is about. So for example, I would say Leverage is a 3-day virtual event specifically designed for course creators who want to sell more of their programs and decide what the best marketing tool and the best marketing approach for them is. So next is like, what are we doing here? So we're writing an email. We are giving that background on the product or event or offer that you're making. And the next thing you want to do is you want to say who it's for. Like, this email should be attractive to, or this email is designed to make my ideal clients want to buy a ticket. Here are my ideal clients. And then you say my ideal clients. In my case, I would say my ideal clients are business owners over 50 who've left their corporate career and now working on creating their online business. They already created courses and programs, and now they're looking for new ways to generate leads and sales for their programs. And the cool thing is, if you are a marketer, if you have your online programs, this is not something you want to generate every single time. You want to have basically a bank of your products and descriptions for your products. In this way, like whatever you want to do it, like you can, for example, keep a Google Doc and you can say, okay, for this event or for this program or for this offer, here's the description of the offer. Here's the description of my audience. So you can just copy and paste. Then it only takes you a couple of minutes to create that prompt. And then there's one more element. So I think it's the fourth element now. And the fourth element is, what tone do you want to use? And the tone, you can do something kind of surfacey. So, for example, you can say, I want it to sound friendly, or write it in a friendly and witty tone, or use a lot of humor, or make it very casual, or be very emotional. So you can kind of, that's a short way of doing it if you kind of want to trying to do it fast. The longer way of doing is, before you start any of this, you want to find how to describe your own voice, because you want it to sound as
Mm.
much as you. So here's what I would recommend. In some tools, it's already built in. So my tool of choice is Jasper, and they already have like the brand voice feature that you can train the platform to say, this is my specific tone of voice.
Hmm.
If you don't, if you're just using ChatGPT, here's what you do. You go to ChatGPT and say, I'm going to give you some data for you to determine what my voice is. So I'm going to train you to speak like me and to write like me. And you can say, don't do anything right now. Just, I'm going to give you content. I'm going to give you some
Mhm.
information, and you're going to tell me done when you're done. So this is when you can like put an email in and said, this is one of the emails I really like that sounds like me. And then ChatGPT will
Nice.
say done. Then you say, here's another email that sounds like me and I really like, and here's why I like it. It will say, okay, you can say, here's who my people are, and you can add more. Like, always want to be friendly. I always want to be positive. Or here's the words I like using, or never use these type of
Hmm.
words. And at the end, you can say, now summarize and describe what this tone is. And then it's going to spit out a very detailed explanation, stuff that you would never think about. So, like on mine, it says it's logical, it's usually it's step by step, uses a lot of bullet points, uses a lot of ellipses, it's conversational, and it's educational and entertaining, and like whatever it describes. And now you have that paragraph that you go put it back into your Google Doc, where you're saving the things that you're going to be using a lot.
Hmm.
And then when if you go back to creating an email to promote my event, I would say, okay, here's what you need to do. Here's what the event is. Here are who my people are, and use this tone of voice. And I'll basically feed it back how it described the tone. And
I
then
love this.
something a lot better than just write me an email to promote an event.
Absolutely. I love it. So you're basically training them to be able to speak in the voice that sounds authentic to you, because that's the thing. This is one of the horrible ways that I see AI, and you sit there and you say, oh my God, this is terrible. What did they put in to get this?
Mm-hmm.
You can tell it's AI. You can tell it. And so having something that people might say to you, oh my gosh, I just loved your latest email, Alina. I loved what you said about blah, blah, blah. That's when you've successfully trained the AI tool you're using. So I really love this. I've put a lot of this over in the chat for everybody. And hear what Alina says. She's also a template queen. Get it in a Google Doc, because you don't need to be typing this crap in over and over and over again. Stop, stop, stop. Have it in a Google Doc where you can just go in and grab what you need, slightly change it if needed, and pop it into whatever tool you're using. Otherwise, you're just wasting a lot of time. So what I'm hearing is people waste a lot of time and get subpar results with AI.
That's the thing. It's worth putting a little bit more thought into prompt and asking for something very specific than it
Mm-hmm.
is to like shortcut your time and just say, like, write me an email. You're going to get very generic stuff. The more of your own words and your tone you input it. And again, I'm going to come back to that again and again. Don't take the first version, because whatever it spits out, even if it's amazing, at the very least, ask it to generate a couple more times. Like, okay, now give me a variation, but use a little bit more empathy. Give me another variation, but replace these bullet points with something else. And then you can kind of use the combination of that to compose the email. And then the very last step, or like you can refine it and stuff, there's two things you definitely want to do. Number one, you want to fact check. So depending
Mm.
if it's like more educational email, or if it brings up any facts, AI hallucinates. all the time. So you have to know your facts. You have to know, especially if you're quoting somebody, if you're like mentioning any like facts or events or statistics, like make sure you verified it before you send it out. And number two, which is the most important one, is you want to add emotion, you want to add humanity, you want to add anecdotes, you want to add personal experience, you want to add testimonials, because that is something that cannot come from AI. So to connect with your readers on that emotional level, it has to come from you. So for example, if let's say AI says like, oh, it's really important for you to do less, and then your marketing like will be more streamlined. So don't try to master 10 different marketing approaches. Stick with one. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I'm teaching at this event. This is awesome.
Yes.
And then it goes into something else. So you can always add a sentence. You can always add a paragraph and say something like, I've learned it the wrong way. When I first started my business, I was trying to do 8 different tools at the same time, and it didn't work out. AI doesn't have those stories. So the more of the personality and your own anecdotes and your own stories and your own case studies you add, the less it's going to sound like AI created it. Even though, like right now, most of my emails I use the AI. People go like, "Oh, I'm glad that it's still you writing." I'm like, "Okay then." So
You just say, thank you.
yes, exactly. So it's a tool to help you brainstorm ideas, come up with creative angles. Sometimes, just like for me, English is not my first language. So, like for me, it's like, hey, I wrote the sentence. I like it, but something feels off. Can you fine tune it? Can you rewrite it? Can you make it more eloquent? Can you make it more persuasive? And it really helps me with just like knowing that what I'm putting out is nice and good.
Oh, that's really, I love that point too, when we're using another language. And by the way, your English is just incredible. Your English is way better than a lot of Americans. That's all I have to say. And this is coming from a former college professor who taught writing in English. Okay.
Wow, nice.
So yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So take that in, really. But when we're working in other languages, like sometimes I will do stuff in Spanish, and my Spanish is not as good as your English is, comparably. So having a tool where you can get that support and sound like a native speaker, is really going to help, especially when you're taking your message globally. So I love that. And a lot of the AI tools will actually translate for you.
Oh, yes. And
Which
well,
is
they'll translate it for you, and you can also just generate, like you can have conversations in multiple languages. So you
I
can.
love that.
I'm going to give you one more. Speaking of like the language and the editing part that I use quite a bit too. So you can use it in 2 ways. You can use it to proofread. You can use it also to teach yourself how to be a better marketer. So I wish I had this tool when I was growing up, when I first started my business. So the first one is pretty simple. So sometimes I write my emails. So I use the AI, I add my own stuff, I compose the email that I want to send out, or whatever it is, opt-in page, email, a social media post. Then I plop it back into the tool, like for example, with Jasper, and they'll say, Jasper, now I want you to act as a experienced conversion copywriter and what's the word for it? Like a critic and a content critic and a copy critic. And then I'll say, okay, tell me where this email can be improved, what was done well, and justify your answers. So it does.
Nice.
Sometimes it says like, hey, you have a typo here, or there's a word missing, or this sentence is a little bit too long. So you can ask it like, give me everything from typo to punctuation to flow to like, is it the most compelling it can be? And the beautiful thing, it's actually going to say, okay, your first paragraph is really like, first of all, it gives you lots of compliments if you're doing a good job. It's like, oh yes, your ideal clients will absolutely love and will be persuaded by the way you've written it. And then it will say, this next paragraph, you might want to expand and add a little bit more detail to make it clear. This next sentence, you might want to add a little bit more urgency. For example, you can add this kind of a statement, and you basically can take your own best version, like it could be like something you've written from scratch, and put it there and say, analyze it, give me areas for improvement, and justify, give me reasons for why you would improve it in a certain way. And then if it says like, oh, add urgency, like your next prompt could be like, okay, rewrite this paragraph and add more urgency. So you can
I
have
love it.
So
So you're
again,
telling it what to do and learning from the justifications that are offered there. That's an incredible point there, to use it to teach yourself whatever you're, maybe you're doing video editing with
yes.
the software, but use it to teach yourself whatever the software is used for or the AI is used for. So
Mhm.
yeah, I love that. So, you said Jasper AI is one of your favorites, Alina. What are some of the others that you just think are the go-to AI tools out there that you would encourage people to look at?
Well, the top 3 or 4, it would obviously be the ChatGPT because
Yep.
that's the free version. The downsides of it, you're not on the latest version. If you're using the free
Hmm.
one, you have to still invest and pay if you want to be on ChatGPT 4. Plus, there's all the conversations about ChatGPT 5 coming out sometime this year or next year. So that is kind of the most popular platform, and it's free. The disadvantages of it is it's not the latest, and it's also sometimes there's downtimes because there's so many people are using it. But ChatGPT is definitely a really good place to start. I love Jasper because it was specifically designed for marketing, and it's specifically been trained on a huge amount of data to make your copy convert. And it has amazing templates built in. So if you don't know how to set up prompts, it just asks you a question, you put it in, and it generates the right prompt and gives you the right answer. There's really
Hmm.
easy ways to go from like the chat version that we all like to a document. So you can like have the chat open on half screen, have the other document, and create bigger documents. So when I was writing my latest book, Own Your Expertise,
Own your expertise.
um, anytime I would get stuck, like in the middle of the paragraph or something, so I would have my flow of my chapters going, and then I would have a chat, and I would like plop it into the document. So it's not like one question answer, but you can have a flow of the document. And in general, like when it comes to originality, Jasper definitely beats the free Chat GPT version. So there's a lot
Yeah, the
less.
free chat GPT stopped in 2021, right? Isn't that
Uh,
right?
no, it's still
Or was it
free.
even
Like if
early?
you go to the OpenAI, it's
No,
still.
no, what I mean is that they stopped getting amalgamating the information in 2021
Oh no,
for
they've been
chat
using it
GPT,
to more.
the freebie.
Well, they keep adding to it more, so
Okay,
there's
because
a
I
lot of
heard that
different.
I don't know, I read or heard that it had stopped, like, so it's gonna be defunct in some ways if you have.
Well, yes, but they keep adding. That's what it was
Yeah,
originally. They only fed so much data up to a certain point,
yeah,
and then so like I didn't know anything about COVID
yeah.
at the very beginning, but they've been opening it up. So if you want to have something a little bit more up to date, you want to use the browser type of AI tools. So
Mhm.
Bing
Okay.
or Bard, those two, you can incorporate the search. So you can say like, hey, search these type of websites, gather the information, bring me the data, and display it in front of me. So it's a lot better at, well, first of all, creating the answers and providing whatever
Mhm.
information you want. So you can do the same thing, like write me an email to sell tickets to my event, but you can also ask it to analyze current data because it's
Mm.
built into a browser. So it has access to current information, everything that's been indexed online, like up to date. So that's,
Okay.
you can,
So
for
y'all,
example, say, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, can y'all see why I wanted Alina on here? Do you see? Like, she knows all that. She's just okay. So let me pause you for a second. Let me tell them. I think your background was you were a physicist. Is that right? Or you studied physics? And I
Yes.
remember I loved physics, but I sucked at it in college. I still graduated magna cum laude, but I made a C in physics, but I loved the class. Anyway,
Well, and
physics.
my
She
second
is so,
master's was a computer
yeah.
science and engineering.
Oh
So
my
a
God.
lot of this is like, oh, I just need to talk to a machine. I know how to talk to a
You know
machine.
how to do that. You're like, I did that my whole master's degree.
Yes.
But what I love about you, Alina, and everybody, I really want you to hear this. She's really logical. You're really logical, Alina, and you also are creative. You're both together, which is the best in business. But you all, what she's dropping down here is really great. Now, I just want to make sure I capture it. So I'm going to ask you, and I may do this a few times, Alina, so I'm not trying to interrupt, but I want to make sure I get it into the chat here. You said for the most up to date, use the browser. That makes perfect sense to me. I'd never thought that through. Use the browser type because it's going to have the most up to date information. But which were the ones that you said that you really
Bard,
like?
for example. Bard,
Sorry,
Google Bard.
Bard.
Hmm.
Yep,
Like
like
if you just like
Shakespeare.
I would prefer if people just pick one or two or three. So if you wanted to give you three, it would be
Mhm.
ChatGPT because you can have free access.
Mhm.
Jasper is a paid platform, but oh my gosh, so
Mhm.
worth it. Well, that's going to make your marketing so much easier. That's my go-to tool. And use Bard if you want to collect stuff off of the internet. So for example, you can say, go analyze this blog that's on the internet right now online and give me a summary of it.
Love
So you
that.
can use
Okay.
things like that.
I really appreciate your annotations of what everything should be used for, because what I hear, I'm going to tell you, okay, I'm going to rail for just a second because this is bold, badass business owners and we talk shit sometimes. But I know I've been in so many presentations where somebody talks about AI and they don't carefully annotate what it can do. They're just
Mhm.
like, oh, yeah, use this for video clips. It's really user friendly. Okay, what that doesn't tell me. Does it have timestamps? What does it do exactly? Does it upload? Does it schedule out your video clip? What does it do? And they're just giving these crappy little one sentence things about it. So I just really appreciate the annotations, and I hope everybody's listening. So do Chat GPT, Jasper AI, and then choose maybe Bard, which
Mhm.
I like because, of course, it's a reference to Shakespeare. Yes, yes. Oh, so that's great. Now, I want to ask you this. This is a selfish, completely unabashedly selfish question, Alina. And that is for video clips. All right.
Mhm.
So I know that in your challenges, by the way, you all need to get in Alina's challenges. They're fantastic. In your challenges, you use short videos. And I'm
Mhm.
just wondering how you put those together. Do you use AI for those? Do you use AI for video editing, for instance? And what would you recommend there?
So there's other tools. So what we just talked about is more how do you give instructions and get copy.
Mm-hmm.
So majority, I
Yes.
mean, there's tools to create like completely separate tools to create images, right? So for the images, if you want to create images, that would be Midjourney and DALL-E. Uh, like like I use Midjourney pretty much. I can't say every day, but several times a week for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Create images. So there's also specific tools to use video. I don't use video too much, and I'll have to look up the exact names. I have them
I
all
know
saved.
some. There's Clap and there's Opus Clips. I think it's called Opus
So
Clips. These are
I just
two
kind
that
of
are
talk
supposed to be
more
pretty
about, yeah,
easy.
yeah. Well, the functionality is different because there's AI tools that you can load a script. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
create some kind of an avatar that's going to read your
Mm-hmm.
script and create videos like that, right? So, like, if you want to go totally robotic kind of way, there's tools where you can feed a clip into it, and it's going to break it down into little clips.
Mm-hmm.
There's tools that's going to just help you write that email, or sorry, the script for your video. So if
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like the what is it called, a video sales letter, VSL,
Mm-hmm.
or if you want to just create a content type of video, there's places where you feed the information and it's going to generate the video. So the tools, and there's like honestly hundreds new tools popping up every week. So it's kind of like use your due diligence, see if you can sign up for a free trial, test it out. I've tested a lot
Mm-hmm.
of them and they're like, that's kind of not quite me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
when we're talking about video, again, what's your purpose? Do you want to repurpose something that already exists, or do you want to create script for a new one? So if we're talking about program creation videos, I'm actually going to give you one more mistake that people make here.
Mm. Good.
Um, and what makes you know how they say like, oh, you can just, it's my pet peeve right now, pet peeve, when people say like, oh, create a program in just 30 minutes and now you content creator, you don't even need to know anything about the topic, but with AI you can create a whole, oh my god, no. Please don't.
Please don't do
That's the
that.
worst thing you can do to
No,
yourself, to your image, to your reputation, to
no,
your people.
no,
Yes.
no.
Big thing, big no. So here's the mistake people make. Even though, like, let's say I'm an expert and I'm an expert on challenges, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I can go and I say, okay, I need to create a video that talks about, for example, like 7 ways to promote your challenge,
Mm-hmm.
or like here's 3 top secrets for creating a challenge that converts, whatever it is. If I go straight to the AI tool and I say, give me 5 secrets for promoting my challenge, or give me 5 secrets to make your challenge engaging, or give me something, it's going to spit out the answer. And here's
Mm.
what happens with us, with our human brains. Once we see the answers, it's really hard to come up with new answers because you're like, oh,
Mm.
she already gave me the answer. My brain stops thinking. Like, I don't need to come
Mm.
up with it. And what we end up with that, again, generic, average, vanilla content that's not super original because it came from a predictive language model that says most likely this is what you want to hear, right? So, what I recommend whenever you're creating any kind of content, blog, emails, and especially when it comes to content creation, like the actual information, the teaching points, the lessons you're creating for your courses, don't ever start with the AI. That's a big mistake that people make because it kind of kills our creativity. As soon as we see, like, oh, give me an outline for 5-week program, here's the outline, you're like, that sounds perfect. And you can't think creatively. It kind of shuts down that piece of your brain. If instead you get a piece of paper or however you take your notes and go like,
Yeah.
okay, if I were to create this program, these would be the 5 points or 5 steps, or here's my process. And you start there. Now you know what you're creating is original. It comes from your wisdom, from your expertise, from your skills, from how you know and how you work with your clients on how to give them the results, not the average collection of what the AI thought of. And then you can take this outline, feed it into AI, and say, am I missing any topics if I'm creating a program about XYZ? Am I missing any secrets if I'm creating this video? So always start with your own original stuff and then use AI to supplement, to say, like, and if it's going to give you like, oh, you can also think like about this type of a topic, you can say, nope, that's not what I wanted to put in my program, or say, oh, that would be a great thing to add to my module 3. So kind of always start with your own original ideas and then supplement it, add to it, like fine tune it. Because if you
All
start
right.
with AI, like that's it.
Then you're going to stop and you're going to have plain vanilla ice cream, and it's going to be the same old, same old. And we know in business, especially now with market saturation, you need to stand out. So you need to have your brand, you need to have your voice, you need to have your presence, the way you approach the world, the way you approach your clients in there, and not what AI says. So I love this. This is big. I've captured it over there, but I really want everyone to hear, use whatever brainstorming method you like. I too like paper. I like mind mapping. I like just, I'll just sit down, have a glass of wine, and I'll just go to town. Sometimes I draw pictures. Like I have stick figures. I could show you some stuff in my office where I have stick figures of my first book, and me talking to a bunch of people in front of it just to, visualize it. But however your mind works, you want to use AI in submission. That sounds sort of bad, but submissively to your voice. You want to be the master and you want AI to be your slave. Okay, maybe that's not the best metaphor, but you get what I'm saying.
Use whatever you're getting from AI as a supplement to what you have inside of you. You don't want the AI to drive the creativity, and because it cannot be that creative.
Beautifully said. That's the Latinate way to say it, Alina. And mine is just like ghetto version, just your AI is gonna suck, so don't use it. Use your creativity first. I love that. That is I've never heard anybody talk about that. And usually people are talking about, okay, use it for brainstorming. But and they'll say start there. But this is a different way. And I think this is one of your strengths too, Alina. And that is, I remember when I took the challenge launch intensive with you, one of the things that really stuck in my head was go and figure out, first of all, where do you want them to go? And then you're going to backtrack and create your days. And you're going to build your days. How would your days be structured? These themes, what would be the right order? But start with the result you want people to have. And actually, well, I would say that's great wisdom, period, in business. Start with the result and then go backwards. So in this case, start with the result that's in your head, the ideas, the theme, the content for your course or your talk or whatever it is that you're creating, your book, and then go backwards, because otherwise you're going to get plain, even if you might not even get ice cream, right? It's not going to even be vanilla ice cream. It's going to be like melted chocolate food. I don't know, but this is great wisdom. So Alina, you've given us several of the mistakes people make, and I think that last one is just absolutely brilliant. Let me ask you this, and that is, you know, what have you seen that you said, wow, now that's a really cool use of AI? I have never thought of that. Are there some things you can think of where you said, ooh, and it might have been something you did yourself and then you were like, wow.
A lot of really good stuff. I feel like almost every week I say,
Yeah.
ooh, and I love being up to date for it too. So I pay
Yeah.
attention to like what other people, because there's always
Yeah.
something new to discover. I'm just trying to think of, and sometimes it's the little phrases. So like you might want to,
Yes.
if you are trying to learn how to do AI, look at the little phrases that people use, like because
Uh-huh.
like one change. So what I learned last week, one of my friends who's a copywriter was teaching a little bit of AI. She says instead of asking, let's say, write an email, again, was like hopefully you enhance the prompt, hopefully you add all the like actors, whatever. But like instead of just saying write an email, you add a little phrase and you say think deeply, and then write an email. And somehow it gives you higher quality. Just the little things,
Mm,
or like a few months ago, I've heard this thing is like, okay, here's my email, or here's my opt-in page, or here's my stuff. Analyze it and give me areas for improvement and justify. So that little word justify makes a huge difference versus just
mm,
saying like, oh yeah, that looks good. So you have to almost start collecting those little phrases that work really well. And everybody found their own unique things. Like you're trying something, you're like, oh, that works really well. And when people are sharing those little tips, sometimes that one little tip or one little phrase that you add makes a huge difference. Um, where I love, like where I use it a lot, as a so in Jasper, there's a way, as I was sharing earlier, like you can work in a document. And one of
mhm,
the best things I like is sometimes I'm writing something and I get stuck. Like,
mhm.
like, and
Yeah.
here's the pros of da 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 da.
Yeah.
However, and I'm like, what was I gonna say here? I know I needed to for the sentence to flow. It's like,
Right.
however, what? So I just put this unfinished sentence into Jasper, and I just press the enter button, and it continues writing, and then says like, however, you might underestimate how long it will take. I'm like, nope, that's not what I meant. Erase it, do it again. However, it only works if you're this or that. I'm like, nope, not quite it. Let's do another one. However, you'll be surprised by the results. Oh, I love that. So it's just kind of like anytime you get stuck in your writing, I absolutely love that finishing touches. You can do it in the chat too. You can say like, put something in, like I do it for bullet points a lot. So
Mhm.
a tip, let's say I'm writing bullet points for an opt-in page, and let's say I have a workshop coming up, and the workshop is how to create a lead magnet, and I already wrote the beginning of the bullet points. So I'll say, okay, you're going to discover 3 types of lead magnets that people can't wait to download. And then to enhance that prompt, you can say, even if. So I'll put it in ChatGPT and I'll say, okay, complete this sentence 5 different ways. You're going to discover 3 types of lead magnets people can't wait to download, even if dot dot dot, and it's going to give me 5 things, like even if it's the first one you create, even if you're completely unknown, even if they usually hate lead magnets, even if whatever. And you're like, oh, that's just enhanced my bullet point. Make sense? So like
That's
that,
incredible.
complete the sentence. I love that ability.
That's fantastic. So when you get stuck, you just use AI, don't sit there and, think you're never going to finish whatever you're working on. Just use AI. I love
Mhm.
that. Actually, it reminded me, Alina, this is fun. Improv comedy. I don't know
Yes,
if you know this about me, but I do
this
improv.
end.
Yes, and
Uh-huh.
but we have and I perform it with a global group sometimes on Zoom, and we have a particular exercise where you take a sentence and then they'll say stop, and you have to and you have to create a different ending. So you're like, and then you killed grandfather because, and you'll list one thing and stop. And then you killed grandfather because, and you keep going, and it just gets funnier and funnier. But your mind actually opens up that way. And I love that we can have AI become a sort of improvisational tool for business. It's like an improvisational tool. Think about that, you all. So you were not having to generate all the ideas, but we're definitely giving it direction to
Mhm.
give us what we want. I love that. I've captured a lot of what you said, like the sentences you said, the even if, the justify, the word justify, think deeply, and then write an email. Yeah. Like be superficial and write an email. No, think deeply and then write your email. You're going to get such a better response, a more thoughtful response from
Mhm.
AI, which is really powerful. So, gosh, this is so interesting to me. And you can tell I'm starting to use AI, Alina. Like I'm using Transcriptor. I'm using some things to take these videos and transcribe them. And I'm using Chat GPT a little bit. And I would imagine probably other people are learning, dabbling, sticking that toe in, so to speak. But really, this is something that you use every day in your business, right?
Pretty much. Yes. And there's so many, like, again, if you are in this information type of business, expertise based business, where
Yes.
sharing, where you're creating content, you half of your day probably is spent on messaging of some sort, whether you're
Hmm.
naming something or you're sending an email or you're posting something on social media or you're responding to your clients, like anything you can use AI for. So I'm like, you can give yourself a challenge right now. I'm all about challenges, right? So
Yes.
challenge yourself, like everything you're doing tomorrow or whenever you're listening to this, so today or tomorrow, think of how can I use AI to enhance it. So, for example, like a couple of things that I do throughout the day. Somebody sends me an email, and it might be like, let's say it's an angry email or upset email
Mhm.
or complaint
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not always in the best mood to respond to that. So,
Tell
some
me about it, right?
really, I already answered that 10 times or whatever, right? Or sometimes like they share a lot of the story with you and then they give you some kind of excuse or some kind of a thing, right?
So in
So
that case, you have a glass of wine and you put have a glass of wine AI and then respond nicely.
no, this is what you do. You just put it in and you say, Jesper, please respond nicely to this email. Tell them that you like just respond to it and say and tell them here's my result. Like and this time around we'll make an exception. Or this and I'm sorry that the guarantee period has expired, or sorry, like this, we're no longer offering this training, whatever. So you give it, basically you say respond nicely, and
Mhm.
then you say, and here's what the conclusion, like here's the the action we're going to take, or here's the resolution. And it does such an
Mm.
amazing job being very empathetic, being very warm. Thank you for sharing your story with me. I'm so sorry you had to go through this. Like it does all that stuff like so easily. And then it says like, unfortunately, here's what we're going to do. Or and this time we'll make an exception. Or and please understand we have to make it fair for everybody. Like whatever it says, it's just always such a nice customer support type
Wow.
tone. Like, hey, it's beautiful.
It
Uh,
doesn't say, sorry, you're such an asswipe. Really, this is fantastic because, okay, so I'm blunt. I'm blunt. And you know that, Alina. I'm just like blunt. I'm loving, but it just comes out. It's
well,
just,
me too. Like,
and
I'm way more direct. I'm way more like
yeah,
people. Like, they can talk. Like, and I've done it in the past, and I regretted it,
yeah,
and I feel bad.
I
But like
know,
somebody
right?
will say, like, "Hey, uh, my dog ran away and my roof is leaking and my computer broke and this thing happened and I forgot where my password. Can you send me a password?" So my response, like, because it's sometimes I only have a few minutes, my response is like, "Here's your password."
No, suck it up and find it.
No, it's just like, "Well, here's your password, or do this, or here's like
It's
how to
just
set
short,
it."
right?
Yeah, like, and I'm like, "Oh, dang, I should have said something about all that other stuff that happened." And sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
you ask me a question, like I'm reading to what I need to do right now. Here's the response. So like I am way like direct, right? Kind of
This
thing.
is
Yeah.
so
So
true. I have
make
a friend who does this. She has one sentence, one phrase or two or three word answers. And it's just because you know why it is? She doesn't like typing
mhm.
text. That's why. But if you didn't know that about her,
It
then you
feels
would
like
think, "Oh
we
my
don't
God,
care.
she doesn't
Yeah.
love me anymore. She doesn't care. She's not going to help me on this."
So it
Hmm.
really helps you like be nice and actually
Human.
do the warm, touchy, fuzzy feelings for people before you have to tell them like here's the reality. So
Yeah, you're
that's
not getting your money back.
one thing where you can use it all the time. Another thing is like I use it a lot for like for subject lines. Give me here's my email
Mm.
I already wrote. Give me 10 ideas for subject line. I'm creating a new opt-in page. Give me a header for it, and then analyze it. Give me 10 and analyze and tell me which one will be the most appealing to my audience. So any kind of brainstorming. Here's the beautiful thing about using AI tools.
Hmm.
It's like having a 24-hour, 24/7 assistant that never
I was
sleeps
going to say
and never says, I
the
already did
VA.
that.
It's like a VA, right?
Like
And
a
you can give this stuff to your VA. I have a pretty new VA who I'm training up, and I'll give her stuff. And I'm like, I want you to create 30 phrases for how you could introduce different shows
Mhm.
and give those to me. And then I have to go and change them, and look at them and edit them. But I just create it using AI. And so it makes their life easier too. And especially if you're working with somebody who's from another country, that can be super helpful. It just means that you get so much more work done in an
Yeah.
hour,
But
right?
in general, like I used to work with copywriters. Well, I still
Hmm.
work. It's like I just hired somebody today to write me. So it's
Yeah.
not a replacement for good copywriting skills. Plus, if you get an email or a blog or whatever it is you're doing or content like script for your videos, you have to understand if it's good or not. Like because ChatGPT or Jasper can spit something out and it's not that good. Like most
Hmm.
of the time it is, but you still have to know what your people want, what your people like, what kind of responses you get. But if and when I work with the copywriters, with real human copywriters, like I would
Yeah.
say, okay, write me 3 emails. I get the 3 emails back. I might say like, okay, tweak this, or this is not quite what we're doing at this workshop. So let's tweak it a little bit, and I give it to them the second time. Eventually, I start feeling guilty. I'm like, okay, I've asked you already several times to tweak it. With the AI tools, it's like rewrite, now rewrite and then now rewrite and make it more empathetic. Now rewrite it and make it more urgent. And I never feel guilty. I mean, you can say please and thank you, but
Great.
don't feel guilty for like it's never gonna say I already did this.
Yeah,
Like
it's not
one
gonna be like,
response.
"You've had me do this 50 times. I'm sick of you. You suck
Yeah.
as a boss." That is so powerful, and I just wanna repeat this because this is a nugget, and sometimes we don't realize the nuggets that are coming out of our mouths, but this is a nugget you gave us, another one, Alina. AI is not a replacement for good copywriting skills, and
Mhm.
I would add, as you said, or hiring a great copywriter. Yeah, it's not a replacement, you all. So stop thinking that you can be cheap. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can just get by and be cheap and just not get that VA, not get that copywriter, not go to any courses, not have mentors and coaches. Oh no, no, no. This is the, special sauce on top of the delicious fettuccine alfredo.
Yeah, actually, you are the special sauce, and then you have these
Yes.
are people who help and support you to bring it out of you.
This is the salt on top of the special sauce.
The
Now I'm getting
truffle.
hungry. Fettuccine Alfredo, right? Doesn't that sound good? A nice glass of white wine. So, Alina, I want to just ask you a fun question. I mean, this
Sure.
has been fun already, but I'll ask you a fun question. So, when you're not being a super researcher and super internet marketer and super mom and all of that, what do you do for fun?
I
What do
like
you do for fun?
travel and food. That's my
Yes,
so
you and
I'm always
me.
like I always have like here's my next vacation, here's where we're going, here's what we're gonna do. Like that's kind of what gets me going. And I love experiencing new cultures. I love learning new languages. I love seeing like how people live. And yeah, that's kind of been my passion as soon as I could afford to start traveling.
And so, you know what I think is cool about that is that you all, anything that's your passion, you can use AI for that too.
Mhm.
Like you could put in there, what are the best places I should go in XYZ country? Or, if I could only take one trip, where should I go? You could use it for your passions as well. And I really believe we should bring our passions into our businesses as much as possible. Now, I want to tell you something funny, Alina.
Yeah.
I think it was you and your husband. I do. I do. I think I saw you on going on the podcasters cruise in November, and there's a picture of, and I think you and your husband are in there.
That was for the
Maybe
marketers cruise, I
Mark,
think.
that's what I thought. I think they took the picture from the marketers cruise and put it up there. But I thought, oh, I was like, oh, look, there's Alina, there's Jenny, you know. So I knew that, I had a sense that you loved to travel, but that's an exciting thing. And traveling in our imagination, AI lets us do that, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, and here's another really interesting thing. So, yes, I like going and traveling, but I also, every time you experience something new, it gives you new stories. So it's almost
Yes.
like as you, here's an example. We went to Greece about half a year ago, spent a couple of amazing weeks there. And there's
Wow.
constant like examples, constant like new way of living or super awesome wine or something or stories because we do like
Feta
tours
cheese.
to get to know culture stuff. And then when you come back, you can actually infuse it into your marketing. Like how do you make it unique and
Yes.
original? Like so a couple of prompts that I was doing to add more storytelling into my thing. I said, okay, give me like so went to AI and I said, okay, give me 5 examples how Greek myths relate to growing your business. And it gave me like so many different analogies. And then I say, okay, now write me a story I can use for social media post on how like this specific hero in Greek mythology, how it applies
Mm.
to choosing the direction in your business or choosing to grow in your business or to overcoming obstacles. And it writes amazing things. And then I actually have a AI club that like a monthly membership kind of thing where I teach people how to get like these type of things with AIs, and we always find something new. Like in my group, we're asking like, can we apply to different things? I'm like, yeah. What's your
Hmm.
favorite movie? Somebody said like Star Trek. Okay, great. How's Star Trek the same as creating your website? It's like, and it gives you analogies. So like the more of yourself you can infuse, so it could be your travels, it could be your experiences, it could be your hobbies, like how riding a horse is the same, or
Mm.
learning how to ride a horse is the same as learning how to build a webinar. Like whatever it is, the more of those stories you infuse and you give AI that original twist, that's what's going to make your emails not sound generic, not sound like, okay, are you struggling with attracting clients online? Oh, this is so sad. And this is why I created a program. Like it sounds super
Hmm.
generic. But if you say, um, one of our people in our the AI mastermind thing, she's all about like the magical wizardry kind of that type of
Hmm.
a thing.
Yeah.
So then she wrote a couple of emails that were all about quests and all
Mm.
about like overcoming the
The
dragon,
dragon.
weird stuff like that. And it just sounds so like her, and
Hmm.
nobody else would say like you won't confuse my emails with her emails. Like it's original, it stands out, and it adds that little extra twinkle and extra humor and extra personality to everything you're creating. So find a few things you can tap into from your hobbies, from your interests, from what you do outside of your business, and think of how you can bring it as stories into your own marketing.
That's just wonderful. And use the AI to find the analogies. We all know that if you're going to go in with stories and word pictures, it's going to impact people. And when we get an emotional hook into somebody, and not, sort of a weird analogy, but when we get an emotional connection with someone, then they're really going to read through to the end, and it's those things, those moments that we are willing to expose something of our life beyond what people see in business, right? And that's why I always say, we're kind of pulling back the red curtain here a little bit, not just on information, but on how we run our businesses and the things we've done that didn't work and the things other people have done that didn't work that we saw and those things that do work. So, I love that we pull back the red curtain and we share, and it's always vulnerability
Hmm.
that connects us to others. I remember, actually, you're making me think, Alina, years ago, I just had all these dreams about my stepfather, and it ends up that he was super sick and almost died. And so I wrote about this in my email newsletter. And I think I might have put a PS. And by the way, I'm running a Reiki class or whatever. I don't remember. But I had so many responses to that email where people are like, oh, I totally get it. My stepfather was like my father. It was just so many responses because people could relate to it. It was relatable. And AI is only relatable if you bring who you are to it.
Yes. And you can actually use AI for that as well, because sometimes when we're going through experience, we don't have the
Hmm.
right words. Like you might not be
Yeah.
like novel type of writer, right? And sometimes it requires like a little bit of setting up the stage and going like, this is what's happening. Like I started getting those dreams and this is how I felt. And I didn't know, like like there's a way to write those type of stories. But the beautiful thing with the AI, and I've done it multiple times, like let's say with Jasper,
Yeah.
you go and say, here's the highlights of the story of something I experienced. And you say like, when I was
Hmm.
5 years old, this was happening. This is what I
Hmm.
thought. This is what my parents said. This is da da da. Now, write a compelling emotional story and tie it
Mm.
to this workshop I'm creating.
Oh
So
my God.
it's gonna do that. Not only it's gonna prettify it because it's really good for like that
Yeah.
type of storytelling stuff, but it's
Hmm.
also gonna make the conclusion, make the transition. And it's like, and this is why I've been always passionate about XYZ, and now I'm sharing my secrets in this workshop, so get a ticket, kind of thing. And if you don't like it, you can say rewrite it and now tie it with a different transition, or also emphasize XYZ. So it's like it's does the work for you. All you have to do is like come up with that creative story, the creative twinkle that's yours and uniquely yours, and help it write the story for you.
And then tweak it. Okay, now you're making me think. I want to put in, tell the story of when we got lost in Paris this summer with a Southern accent and Southern idioms and see what happens.
And that's the
And
thing,
then
like,
the corn pone. I don't know what's going to happen, but that'll be a lot of fun, you know? So,
and this is why it's so fun to play with it. Yes.
yes, and that's something that I think is great about the way that you approach technology. You obviously are very versed in it, and you have that computer science background, but you also encourage us to experiment. And those of you who are watching, I want to ask you, and those of you who watch down the road, because I know I've seen some of you on here, but I know some of you want to watch later. I want you to just put an aha. What about this discussion today has really hit home for you, where you said, "Oh my God, I didn't realize I could humanize AI." You mean I can use AI to make my voice greater, to amplify my voice? You mean I could use AI so I can get so much more content out there that's going to impact people? I think there's so many ahas that you could have that you've alluded at or just given us, Alina. There's so much here. I've written so much over, and hope I wasn't rude because I was over here typing, trying to capture it in the comments there. But really, this is great stuff. So I'm wondering, would you share something? You have a gift you'd like to give us, or is there something that you'd like to offer everybody? Maybe some kind of, I don't know, first month discount on your AI thing, or anything, whatever.
Reach
What do you
out
want to offer?
that you're interested in. Absolutely. I would just say I want to invite you to my Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group called Business
Yes.
Owners Who Think Big. We run a lot of free challenges in there. The last challenge we've run, actually not even the last one, the one before, was all about how to create social media content to increase your visibility using AI tools. So all of my challenges are free. So if you become part of our community, Business Owners Who Think Big on Facebook, you can just Google it, or I'll post the link. We'll post the link somewhere for that. And then you kind of will be in my world. You'll see what's happening. I'm actually seriously considering doing another challenge before the end of the year that will be specifically on, let's say, how to create your marketing content and emails for your next launch type of challenge. So yeah, if you want to learn more and kind of see what we have coming up, being in that Facebook group is the best way to stay in touch with me.
That's fabulous. And I put it up in the chat. You all just go into Facebook and just search for Business Owners Who Think Big. And I'm in it. I'm in that group, by the way. It's got a lot of interesting people with many different types of expertise. And again, you can get those free challenges. And, the nice thing about the way Alina runs challenges, I would let everybody know, is that you're not going to be on there for hours at a time. I'm going to rail for a second. I hate those challenges that go on, and you're like, oh shit, I can't even go pee. But yours are really quick. They're like 10, 20-minute videos, usually more like 10 minutes, right? Okay, they're just 10 minutes, y'all. 10 minutes. And so literally you can watch them, and then Alina will give you an action step to take that you're going to post. You also give away gifts. Oh, can I show y'all something cool?
Yeah.
You see this right here? This came from Alina. Wait. There. This is the microphone that you recommended, and I won it. And it was the one thing I wanted. I was like, I want that microphone. And I won it from a challenge or something. So yeah, thank you for that. I always think of you when I look down at my I was gonna say microwave, my microphone. You can tell it's Friday afternoon. My microwave. Today I was trying to talk to my Make It Happen mastermind people, and I was saying stuff like complimentary instead of complimentary. I was just like, yeah, I can't talk today. When I get excited, I just start talking fast. But listen, Alina, this is some great information. We really want to thank you. And everybody, I forgot to do this at the beginning because this is me. I forget it a lot of times. I like to promote other people and I forget about promoting my own shit. So go over to YouTube and look at Dr. Barnsley Brown and subscribe, you all. Subscribe, please, because I am building up the number of subscribers over on YouTube. And I'd really like these interviews to go even further than they are. We're getting over 200 watches on Facebook within just a couple of days, usually. And then when the guests send this out to their email list, it goes up even more. I want to build up YouTube, though. So I want that to be built up as well. So you all please help me with that. And just remember that all the guests coming on here are giving us their time and expertise. So it's a win-win for everybody. You're getting that, and we're sharing this information far and wide. So be sure also to go to Alina Vincent's Facebook group, Business Owners Who Think Big, and get in that group. And also check out High Profit Programs and her leverage event coming up, because I can personally vouch for high profit programs. And I might have gone to leverage too. I may have. All of the programs that Alina does are chock full of great up-to-date information. All right. And that is very important. There's a lot of crap out there. And like I said before, Alina's the real deal. So Alina, would you give us a last thing that you would say, like, hell no, don't do this, or hell yeah, do this?
Here's what I would say. AI is here to stay. So you cannot ignore it. It's one of those things. It's almost like being in the 1990s and saying like, oh, this internet thing, I don't care about it. You cannot afford. It's going to make huge changes in it's going to create huge changes in our society in the next few years, and in marketing and how we run our businesses. So you simply cannot ignore it. So just start with simple steps, go play with it, maybe use some of the tips I've shared today. But if you are not using it right now, or like ignoring it right now, I don't want you to stay behind. So do small steps. Don't switch your whole entire business, because there's going to be more uses. There's going to be more applications, and AI is definitely here to stay. So my thing is, go do it.
Go do it. Do that thing now. And don't think it's going away, because it's not. All right. Well, stay on for a second, would you, Alina? We're going to close the red curtain, but I have something to share with you. And you all there, sorry, you won't know what it is, but go get in Alina's Facebook group and make sure that next week, Bold Badass Business Owners right here, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Next week is Jen Vaida, who is also a copywriter who I found out about through Alina. And she is just incredibly creative. She knows her stuff. And she's going to talk about why most copywriters don't get people responding to what they write for you, which is really going to be helpful for you.
Jen is
so everybody. Yes, she is awesome. Absolutely. Tune in, you all. See you next week. And in the middle, remember that you're a bold, badass business owner already, or you would not be watching this.